Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be across the nation or around the world. Once again, you're listening to VMware Community's Roundtable Podcast. This is podcast number 706. My name is Eric Nilsson, and with me today I have my regular co-host, Corey Romero. Today is Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024. Corey, how you doing today?
Doing very well, Eric. Almost getting close to explore Barcelona.
No, we got one more week and then we fly. I think I fly next Friday to get there for CTAB. So I'm excited about that. It should be a great trip, and looking forward to being over in Europe. Haven't been there since last year. So going there, I'm excited about that. You're going with me, and then we're going to do a drive-by to London as well. So that should be fun. Do a little bit of Europe hopping. Can't go wrong with that. Drink some of their, what do they say? Chase their beer and drink their women or something like that. There's an old phrase that goes something like that, but should have a fun time. I'm excited about that. On the show today, we've got Marc Huppert, who is VCX 181, one of the biggest HomeLabbers I've ever met, has a garage full of gear. So we're going to talk to him about that. And I'm excited about that. And, we're gearing up from big announcements that are going to happen at Explore Europe around HomeLab and VMUG. So we'll get there. But Corey, anything to talk about with regards to influencers, VExperts, or anything else before we?
Yeah. So we have 182 VExperts attending Explore Barcelona. So excited to see everybody. We've got 30 plus blog posts floating around. So if you want to go read about the experiences about Explore Barcelona, just Google Explore Barcelona blog, and you'll come across all kinds of VExpert blogs. And then applications for the 2025 program for VExpert open in mid-December.
All right. Good. Get excited about that. I know we've been on an uptick. The community has been on an uptick. Last week, we talked about all the numbers that are, going back. I ran into Lee Caswell this morning, who works over at Nutanix these days. He bailed and went over there, and he lives in Palo Alto. So, I run into him from time to time, and he's a friend of ours, his old family friend. So, I said we can chat and be happy, in Palo Alto. But then when I see you in the market, we pull out the machine guns and, shoot at each other across from the trenches. But he was here, and I was telling him about the momentum, right? And that your easy days of Nutanix picking off VMware are over, right? We have now, settled the licensing things. People are seeing the value. And so I was smiling going, we're looking at picking off Amazon and Azure, right? That's who we want to go after, right? Bring the workloads back into the data center. So, and they can pick off whoever they want. They can still kind of try to pick off us if they want to. I know they've had us in the crosshairs, but we're booming. That's what I'd say is things are getting pretty exciting here. Broadcom is, adjusting, and we're adjusting. So VMUG apps, exciting, good. I know we've seen more and more people. I know we picked up another 100 or so VExperts over the course of the summer when the apps were open. And so looking forward to that. And there's a lot of VMUG user groups going on now. They've had record numbers at the VMUG user cons. So there's a lot of excitement there. I know they had one in the UK, right? Or they're about ready to have one in the UK. I don't know if that's already gone off or not, but they've had them all over the place. Hawk's been to several of them. So people are kind of excited, right? And we'll talk to Marc today and get his temperature on what he thinks of, the integrated VCF experience. I know he's been working on his lab, so excited about that. We'll just do some shout outs before we get going here. One is obviously, 1 week away from Barcelona, or maybe a week and a half away from Barcelona. Not too late to get your tickets. I'm going to do a blog article on how to get your flights from anywhere in the U.S., not U.S., anywhere from Europe into Barcelona. I'm going to publish that this week, see what the flight costs are. But me and Corey flew round trip to London because it was cheaper to fly into Barcelona, do the week in Barcelona, fly to London, and then fly back to Barcelona to come back instead of doing a 3-leg journey. 3-leg journey was, $4,400, right? Right, exactly. Where we could get round trip to the UK, round trip to Barcelona for like $800, and the round trip from Barcelona to UK was like $79, or it was pretty cheap, right? So if you're thinking you can get on a flight, get into Barcelona, gonna look up some cheap hotels, and then of course you always have to have the pass, right? Then the pass is the one that you're gonna have to cough up the couple grand, right, to get there. But from a travel and hotel perspective, I'm going to try to do a blog on what's the cheapest way you can eat, for all the free food? What's the cheapest flights you can get from around Europe? And then, then you do have to come up with the dollars for the conference fee itself, right? But hoping to see everybody there. I know that the Code Theater and the Community Theater, we've watched the sessions and they're booking up, right? But this year we also ordered another 50 or 100 headsets that are the colored headsets for disco. And then we're going to plug those into the audio feed. So if you want to stand around the theater, like if it's crowded and it's booked, you can still come and watch any of the sessions, because we're going to have the headsets so that, you can listen to the feed live and be in the expo hall, right? And, stand around and watch if you want to. So that means that we'll probably have an extra 50 to 75 capacity per theater. So there will be standing room audio options for people. So that's kind of cool. That's the first year we've done that, right? Because we noticed last year and the year before, we had standing room only for most of the community sessions. So we turned the speakers outward. We had a couple speakers outward. And we're like, why don't we go get the headphones, the disco sets, and put the feeds in? And we had talked about that a couple of years in a row where, when we have two theaters too close, you get audio bleed over. But we've never done anything like this. But this time we're going to do it for the standing room people. So that's good. So come on by. I know we're going to be the happening place. The hackathon is happening Monday night. We have drop-in. I think there are 5 teams. You can get on a team still, or just Google hackathon. You should be able to find it, or go to community.broadcom.com and click on the code site. There's a link to the hackathon there, and you can be part of the hackathon. I'll be there. I'm going to bring ChatGPT. Marc's good. Great. Marc, good. Yep, you're there. And we got a pretty cool venue. The venue was a venue we did last year. It's off campus. It's not at the hall. It's down in the city, by the La Rambla, I guess you could say. And so find that location. We're going to have dinner there. So we're buying, paellas or some kind of food that was pretty good last year. And then we'll be there till probably like midnight, 7 to midnight or something like that, where everybody's going to be working on stuff. And it's just a fun, cool time to be hacking. If hacking isn't your thing or coding isn't your thing, we're also sponsoring the V Rockstar party on Monday night. So, come on by. I think you have to reg because they run out of seats over time. I think like 300 or 400 people can fit in this place. And so, you got to go, but you can usually stand outside for 20, 30 minutes. And as people leave, they let people in. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, but that's going to be happening as well. I'll probably be at the hackathon, so I won't be there. But some of the community people will be over there. So that's happening. Tuesday night, we're going to be at Expo Hall. I think there's a hall crawl, and we're going to be doing some special stuff. And we have special giveaways that you're going to really like, but we can't talk about it on the air. We cannot say the brand name of the stuff we're giving away, but it is very high-end brand name. And so if you come and hang out with us, it's very easy to get a token to get, the apparel. Which should be fun. So that's Tuesday night, and then Wednesday night's the party. Cover bands, European bands. I don't know. Everybody in Europe knows what these bands are, but I don't know what the bands are. I don't recognize half of them, right? But we're gonna have a band Wednesday night party, and then Thursday I think there's stuff going on, but the expo hall is closed, so the community booth will only be from Monday. But we stay open until 7 p.m. every night, so it should be good. So I think that's the summary. Looking forward to seeing everybody there. And let's move on to HomeLabs and Marc Huppert. So Marc, how's it going? You always come back to us. You've got the lab that is like high-end enterprise lab. Why don't you do an elevator pitch of 2 minutes? What do you do in Europe?
Yeah. First of all, thanks again for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and all the other HomeLab guys out there. I think probably a HomeLab is never going to be really finished because you're never really done. There's always things you need to change or you like to change, upgrading the network part. Actually, right now, VCF with private AI is a super hot topic, especially here in Europe. So most of our customers want to talk about that. And private AI, the starting point, getting machines from NVIDIA, from Dell is kind of really expensive. So the cheapest starting point could be VCF with private AI as an add-on. And actually, in my home lab, I'm gonna running it on 4 dedicated machines with NVIDIA GPUs inside it. So this is the physical VCF part.
Yeah, so I didn't realize we are going to jump right into this, but now I'm going to ask because like I got, I did Bitcoin mining, right? And I got like 4 or 5 PCs, that have GPUs, and my biggest one is a 3090 or something. That's, pretty beefy GPU, right? I mean, I could make some Bitcoin dollars on it when I was mining on it. So are you saying that you can use that, or do you really need to go buy specialized, GPUs that are more rack mounted kind of world here?
Yeah, you should go for more dedicated the data center GPUs. Right. So to use the NVIDIA vGPU drivers running inside ESXi, that's one requirement. And it's, to be honest, one of the hardest part to get licenses, not from your side, so from Broadcom VMware side. The hardest part is to get licenses for the NVIDIA part. You can get test keys, but NFRs are always a challenge. I have a lot of friends over there at the NVIDIA site, and we did a lot of discussions with engineering and product management. And it's getting better, but that's sometimes kind of hard. Right. All right. Well, we're not really here to just drill down on AI today per se, but that is interesting. I just wondered, like, do I have to go buy the gear? And we'll talk about building your home lab and where to go buy used gear and that kind of stuff, right? And so we'll get into that. So yeah, all right, that's cool. And then what do you do for a day job? You're not just Mr. You don't sell out slices in your home lab, do you? Like, what do you do for a day job? Yeah, normally I'm doing the VMware stuff since 24 years right now. And sometimes my wife's going to complain that I'm doing it 24/7. I'm really loving the technology. I'm living the technology. So I'm doing customer workshops. I'm doing performance analysis on customer environments. And actually right now, I am talking to, on a daily basis, customers getting into the new license, getting the VCF stuff. Some of those customers talking about, and thinking about maybe shifting away from VMware. And actually, the timing is perfect. The next big thing is going to be vSphere memory tiering. That is insane technology. And for example, you're talking about used hardware. The timing for this podcast is perfect because 2 days ago, I finished my newest HomeLab edition, my holodeck server. It has 2 28-core Xeon CPUs. It has 1.5 terabytes of DDR4 RAM, and actually, I bought on eBay a 4 terabyte NVMe device, installed it, loaded the memory tiering, which is actually a tech preview in 8.0 U3, so you can enable it. I configured it for 200%. So actually right now, 1.5 terabytes of real memory and 3 terabytes usable memory on the NVMe. Makes a total of 4.5 terabytes of memory on my holodeck system, which is absolutely insane. And everyone who's going to work with holodeck knows there's always this one resource that you couldn't get enough, which is memory. Memory. So when we talk memory tiering, right, I'll get back to holodeck because in case people aren't listening to the podcast, we've talked about holodeck. It's a packaged version of VCF that you can install. And it's just an easy button install for the whole thing. That I forget who sets this up, but there's a couple of guys in Europe that, is it you and other, or you do work on that? Like, is holodeck part of your? No. I'm just using it.
You're just using it. I forget the guy, we had him on the podcast and he talked about building up the holodeck, like he built it, right? It was nice. But back to memory tiering, right? So the thing that I'm confused about is it's kind of like swap, right? It's kind of like you got memory, you're memory swapping, but how do you extend memory when you don't have memory, right? Like if you don't have memory, like it's swapping memory, obviously. It's kind of like disk swapping, but it's memory swapping, right? Is that what tiering really is?
Not really. You can kind of compare it to. But for example, if you look inside the hypervisor, inside the VM kernel, it has the knowledge about hot memory areas, warm memory areas, cold and freeze memory areas.
Oh, right. I see it. Yeah.
Especially in holodeck, when you set up virtual ESXi servers with vSAN ESA or OSA inside it, most of those ESXi servers consumes the memory only when you power them up. And then those memory parts are getting colder and colder until they freeze.
Right.
And that could easily be swapped out to NVMe.
Yep.
And for example, I am running 2 dedicated huge VCF holodecks environment at one physical box. The first one is a VCF VCF standard design on this machine. Consists of 4 hosts of the management domain, 4 hosts of the next workload domain, and then additional 3 hosts for NFS workload domains. And I'm using that environment for showing customers and colleagues the advantages of VCF and how easy it is to get there and to use it and update it and simply consume it. But most of the German customers are, we're kind of special because we're always requesting stretch clusters. And that's the same part in VCF. So nearly every single German customer is requesting, we need stretch cluster support for VCF. Does it work? In the official training slides, there is a really powerful demonstration on how to perform VCF on a stretched cluster configuration. You need 8 different ESXi servers for both sides, and I've done that also in my environment at the holodeck. And actually, there are 20 virtual ESXi servers running on this one physical box. Those 20 ESXi servers consumes 4 terabytes of memory. The machine itself has 1.5 terabytes, which is kind of crazy from a HomeLab perspective to have 1.5 terabytes of memory, real memory in a server. It was crazy expensive getting that kind of memory into the machine. It's a Dell R740 that I'm using here. I'm only using Dell machines and R740s. And actually, my HomeLab has 39 physical ESXi hosts. So physical machines. All of them are Dell. And yeah, power consumption is a big topic. Storage is a big topic. And yeah, there's always this one resource that you can't get enough, which is memory. And right now, I'm doing workshops with customers, showing them the memory tiering option. Yeah. And those customers talk to me, this is going to be the killer feature for the next upcoming release, so VCF 9. The reason behind that is actually here in Germany, the memory costs of a server, the server cost itself, 40 to 50% of the entire memory of the entire server cost is memory based. Kind of crazy. And then especially if you go for the newer machines with the Xeon 6 CPUs, which comes out from Intel, DDR5 systems, totally insane list prices for the memory. That technology, the memory tiering part, is that killer feature, that next big thing, because no other hypervisor vendor has it in place right now. And no one else could reproduce it right now. And that's the killer feature. And I think my personal perspective is customers next year, when the feature is going to be out with VCF 9, customers who's no longer going to be discussing, should I use VMware or should I use another hypervisor? That is going to come to an end. Yeah.
Memory tiering. It's kind of reminds me of, I get now what it is. That makes sense. Hot, cold, and medium. And it reminds me of dynamically linked libraries to some degree, where you're sharing a bunch of dynamic link libraries, but it's different but it is kind of the same, right? Not really, but it's just another strategy for that. It's kind of like swapping, but memory swapping. But they got to swap the memory. They got to keep it. They got to keep track of it, and they're gonna overuse memory, right? So they are keeping cool parts of memory swapped out, but then they know it's cool, so it's fine, right? You just don't have it populated, and it doesn't affect performance, right? And so then you get memory tiering. I just want to call it. There's a word for that. Over hyperextending, memory or something like that, where you're just basically using way more than you really have. And
in the past, it was overcommitment, where
overcommit. Right, exactly, right.
What was used, but it was disk based. It was so slow.
Yeah, that's right.
When they hit it,
right, and it makes sense, right? The other thing that was happening was as you had memory disks, right? You could kind of do this with fast memory disks, right? And then we get kind of similar behavior, but this in the kernel, I can imagine this in ESX in the kernel managed properly, it would be just almost zero cost, right? Like that, you just don't, where the swapping model, even if you have very fast memory disks, it would still, there's cost to it, right? So that's neat, like that. So this gets us into like building out, a full HomeLab that'll run VCF, right? And then, how do you get VCF licenses, right? Which we've talked about, or I talked about in the last podcast, right? Like we are going to have a way, we are going to announce at Explore in 2 weeks. I think we're Tuesday the 5th. Watch out for announcement, because there will be a way to get, I think VCF, somebody told me the VCF 64 core license is like 20 grand, right? Like it's expensive to have a VCF home environment when you got to spend 20 grand on a VCF license. And sure, if you're enterprise, that's great, but try to convince your boss to buy you an extra full VCF license to be home. So we've been working on this for like a year now, right? Or I think since October we got bought, and I think November 1st was the first time I started having conversations about this, like where are we going and how are we going to do this? And Broadcom was like, yeah, we don't do that. There's no way we do that. We don't give away free anything, right? Like, shut all those programs down, right? And over time, we worked on that, and and then over time, people started to understand it. I think the reality is Hock Tan, who is our CEO, started understanding the community, right, and started understanding, and going to VMUGs and seeing what they were doing, and then he started realizing that, wait, this is not like the chip business where if I give somebody some free gear, it's going to cost me physical dollars, right? Because the chip business, when you give samples away, they're used to giving samples that cost physical dollars, right? And so they're like, yeah, you got to be an enterprise customer, an enterprise partner, and then we'll give you stuff. Otherwise, there was no way to give. And even when we were like, how do we actually, if we want to give away licenses, how would we do that? They first were like, well, you got to be an enterprise customer because you have to be in our system to cut licenses. So we're like, yeah, but we got 12,000 VMUG Advantage customers. Like, they're not even our customers; they're VMUG customers, and we give them licenses. How would we physically do that, right? And so there was a lot of work to be able to figure out how to do that. But when Hock became supportive, and Hock did in the end, or do a memo, right, to everybody, because we got a lot of people that said can't be done. Ops people, no, can't be done. And eventually we had to have Hock sign a memo. We wrote it up and said, this is what we're trying to accomplish. And he was very supportive of it. And so I have there'll be a way to do this, right? And so that's the exciting part, is that there will be a way for people. And people ask, like, well, will we be updating it? How will it be updated? And I'm not allowed to announce all this stuff yet, but I can say there will be updates. You will stay current, right? There have been issues around the current VMUG offerings, the HomeLab licenses. We can't even get any bits at this point, right? So people are like, how do I get updates to all the HomeLab stuff? And I'm like, just got to wait. We're working on it. And now we're going to announce it. And then, yes, there will be updates for everything. So then, you'll be...
and especially VCF for 64 cores costs you 20K.
20K.
I have 880 cores in my HomeLab. So.
Right. Exactly. So you need it. Right. And so that's what we're excited about, is this is coming, right? And just like everything, it's taken Broadcom and systems and core systems and license managers and all this stuff to change everything. And Corey, you know this, like we've been working on all these things, right? Yeah. And we're going to get there. And the thing I would say is that we are going to, we're big on supporting VMUG. So, if you haven't bought your VMUG Advantage, you might want to go consider doing that. Like even the vExperts might be asked to go, pay your $200 a year to, support VMUG Advantage, because it supports the community, it supports user cons, it supports chapter meetings, it supports everybody that's out there in the community. And if we want to keep community strong, part of VMUG will be next year, like how does the community help fund this, right? So, and that's that $200 membership per year. But then if you look at what you're going to get from that, I think it's going to be good, right? And I think you're going to look at that and go, okay, yeah, I can run a VCF fully licensed in my HomeLab environment, get updates, and be ready to go. So excited about that. Looking forward to the announcement there. So pay attention there. That's going to be fun. And then Marc, like when people want to get started on this, right? Where's the best place to go find gear, right? Because, VCF isn't small, as you point out. Even the base, I think you need enough to run 8 or some big enough number that you got, everything running between NSX and vSAN and your enterprise. Like, what's the best strategy to make this happen? Is it used market? Go look on eBay. What's the if people want to get started? Because I'm like that, where I'm like, well, I run ESX on my own server. It's like a super micro, right? I don't run vSAN. I don't run an SX. I have my little HomeLab on my super micro, right? But I'm like, okay, now I'm going to have to learn VCF as well, right? Because we're a one product company. It's basically VCF. So what's the best way to get started in this space?
Yeah, it is. Especially you have to get in touch with VCF, creating knowledge to convince customers, implement it, support it, and especially passing exams. For example, without my environment, I wouldn't be able to pass the VCF deployment exam, which was kind of hard because all those stretched environments are going to be asked in that exam. And then the new one, the VCF admin exam, which is great. I really enjoyed it. You have to get in touch with those kind of environments. And the best starting point, nearly all of my colleagues have now HomeLab gear running under their desks inside the basement and all this kind of stuff. Most of them, their starting point is the old Intel NUCs, which is now sold to Asus. So Asus NUC systems, for example, putting the maximum out of memory in it, maybe attach an NVMe and also use vSphere memory tiering, install holodeck on it, a small environment, get in touch with VCF. For a holodeck,
I had heard that Intel had canceled the NUC, but you're saying it just went to Acer.
Yeah.
You can still buy them.
They sold it to Asus. Yeah.
Okay, Asus. Yeah. And I wondered that because when I go on Amazon, I can still buy them, right? And I'm like, if they canceled them, how come I can still buy them, right? And it's just been probably the brand is still the brand, right? Maybe Intel NUC. I don't know how they're marketing that, but okay, that's good. And William Lamb's whole NUC, NUC articles and stuff are still williamlamb.com. You can go read about that. He gives you good starters on how to get that going, right? But I wasn't sure whether that stuff was beefy enough to put holodeck on it, right?
Not officially, because the smallest holodeck environment requires 384 gigs of memory, the smallest part to run 4 dedicated ESXi systems. So the normal consolidated design. So you have one management domain and all your other workloads running there as well. But on a NUC, in combination with NVMe, with vSphere memory tiering, it is now possible. It is not the fastest system on the planet, but
so now with memory tiering, I can do it. It'll be slower, but I can actually do it now because I can oversubscribe the memory.
Yes,
that was the word I was looking for. Oversubscribing, right? We've had oversubscribing for a long time in the computer.
For vSphere memory tiering, the official starting point is it only consumes 25% of the device or 25% of your real memory, but you can max it out up to 400%. And especially if you have a small NUC system, my comment is it is not a performance-based lab.
No, of
It
course
is.
not.
It is
Learning.
just
It's learning.
learning platform. Right.
Right.
Hey, Mark, do you have any blog posts or blog articles written up on this or written up on your HomeLab?
Yes, but they are not published right now. They will be published next week. So the week before
Explore
Barcelona. Yeah.
Ping me
And
when
then,
they do. I looked on your blog. I didn't see anything there, but yeah, ping me when those are live.
yeah.
I would love to promote those.
Both of my sessions on Explore Las Vegas were totally booked out. Standing room only, 100 people standing there. And then I'm going to repeat it, both sessions at Barcelona as well. And I have updated the slides to the newest stuff, which includes vSphere memory tiering. So with all the different monitoring stuff and
Nice.
That's great. That's great. And that's where the headphones came in, because we're like, hey, there were literally 50, 60 people standing around, and we're like, we could at least get them headphones so they could hear better. Right. And so we're doing that, and we doubled up your sessions, and then combine it with the Tuesday, press release where we can actually talk about, how you might be able to get VCF HomeLab licenses and that kind of stuff. It should be perfect. And I didn't realize that the NUC thing was a possibility here with oversubscribing or memory tiering. So that'll be nice. So that's great. I did not know that. Right. Like, so that'll be fun. And that's what I want to do is talk about your sessions. Do you know what days they are?
Not right now, because I know both sessions are scheduled, and one of them is doubled. So because there's a full waiting list, and you guys don't want to officially drop the waiting list. So my HomeLab session is going to be repeated, and the other session about the life cycle management, including for Dell systems as well as NVIDIA GPUs, into the new image-based patching scenario, is also going to be presented in Barcelona, including some screenshots from my live environment, because it is a podcast session or it is a community talk, which is not possible to show it live. Yeah.
Julie was nice enough to put it in the chat. Community 1237 LV was the session. LV, I thought was for Las Vegas, so I'm not sure that that's right or not, but we'll let Julie tell me whether that is the case or not, right?
Both are accepted for Barcelona as well.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I have a feeling they're not that, because that's the LV version. But she does have the time and date. So Wednesday. No, those are Vegas. Those are the Vegas ones. We'll have to wait. She'll go figure it out. Those ignore that. But you got a couple sessions. We'll figure out what those are, and just you can search in content calendar for Marc Huppert, Huppert. Is that how we spell it? Yep. Huppert. And go. And I say we're going to have the headsets, so you should be able to do standing, and don't worry about the line. It'll be busy. And if it's super busy, we'll grab the headsets from the code version and get more headsets.
Let's get there.
And then you can stand next to your buddy and you listen to one and you share the it's going to be crazy. Excited about that. This is the first time we're going to do it.
If you don't have any chance to attend the session, just find me around the Explore, and I'm going to do a quick talk, or maybe we could do some deep dive and jump directly into my lab and do some stuff. That is the thing that I'm going to do at the hackathon as well.
We're going to have Marc giving away the things that we're not allowed to announce, and then you're going to come up and he's going to sign the back of it, so you can VCX 181 signature across the back. It's going to be awesome. This is why you want to spend the $2,000 to come, because we do have a lot of momentum, right, between memory tiering, right, or and then also AI and the resurgence of the data center. It's we are on fire, and I've been trying to tell people that, I sense it, right? Like just what you said, right? in another 6 months, it's no longer a question of, are you going to go to another hypervisor or not? You're going to look at the technology. You're going to go, oh my God, VMware just leapfrogged, up 5 more years into the future, right? Which honestly, I got to look at Broadcom and I say Broadcom enabled some of this, right? Like they brought everybody back on campus. They got everybody in the office working. People work till 8 o'clock at night. Hawk walks around the campus and he looks at the parking lot and he goes, okay, are we busy? Are people working? Like literally, I'll tell you what he does. He makes all the divisions print out the weekly badge in reports. If you got a team that hasn't been badging in, he takes headcount from you. He goes, all right, obviously you guys don't seem to be busy enough. You're not coming to the office and working 10 hours a day here. Like, we're a technology company. We got to move the technology faster than our competitors. That's his gig. That's what he does. And I've had friends of mine walk with him through the parking lot where he's looking at buildings and looking at lights, he tracks how many people come in and how much work is getting done, how much technology is moving forward. And, if you compete against Broadcom, I know chip guys that are competing against Broadcom, and I've said this before, they're like, when we do a chip and then Broadcom comes in and buys a competitor and we have to compete against Broadcom, we get out of that market because we can't innovate as fast as Broadcom does. They just work, right? So I see that, and I see that now. I see us announcing, consolidating vSphere 9, single SKU for everything. Education is free, right? You don't have to, if you want to go take an education class, as long as you got VCF purchased somewhere in your org, you can go free classes, right? They just do the one price for everything, and that's it.
That hurts because I'm an official instructor.
Right, I know, right. There is a lot of, like we're all moving, we're all shifting, right? There are programs that we funded that were our happy little programs and our happy little vendors, and we've had to go back and say, hey, happy little vendor, really sorry, but we're consolidating this. This is more efficient, but they find other things to do. There's a lot of momentum going, and I'm sure Marc, you'll survive. Right.
Yeah, and actually, my newest HomeLab investment and improvement is I'm gonna get rid of all the old Wi-Fi access points, getting the newest switches sitting over there needs to be installed. So Wi-Fi 6E configuration. The reason behind that, I'm gonna prepare. It's a sneak preview. I'm gonna prepare the VCF admin of the future, Apple's Vision Pro.
There you go.
Double 4K. If you look on a MacBook, double 4K screens, and then you have on the one screen your SDDC manager screen, on the other one your vCenter screen, and then you could easily administer your entire environment through the Apple Vision Pro, which is kind of cool. It's a cool demo.
Yeah, that sounds great. And you don't get sick? You don't wiggle your head too fast and want to get sick? Because that's every time I put.
Not right now, and we are preparing it for our customers. The Vision Pro in a extra ruggedized case for traveling it through the customers, and then doing the VPN connection inside my lab here, and then showing them VCF through AR or VR through the Vision Pro, which is cool.
That's cool.
With ChatGPT. That's
I actually did back in the day. I did a rack manager at Sun Microsystems. We had rack machines, and we did 3D rack manager where you could slide the machines out of the rack and then open it up, and it was a 3D implementation of that. Kind of neat. All that stuff's kind of neat, right? In the end, just give me a Dell monitor and I'll do my work. It's fine. but it is fun. It is fun, and I like it. So that sounds great. So excited about that. Excited about the HomeLab. Where I didn't know you could get a Nook, and then I do want to touch base on there is an ecosystem of people selling used gear, right? And I don't know where I guess it's just eBay. You just scan eBay to look for the next gear. it'd be fun for somebody to do a blog article. And if you're listening to this and you're a blogger, a fun blog article would be to do a nice blog article of tiered gear, right? Like, okay, I want this gear. I'm at this level. I've got this. What would the next used level be that I want to go? All right, I got to Dell this server. What's the next one up that I could get? And what would be the price be, right? People like, okay, here, I'm starting at my Nook. And I'm done with my Nook, and now I want to move up to the next level. What Dell system would I kind of look at on the used market, right? Like what switch would I use for the used market? And then once I got there, where would I go next? So that you could have a pretty nice William Lamb, tiered blog article on, once I'm at Nook, what's the next ladders? And you've been climbing this ladder, so you're at, you're like at floor 80 on a skyscraper. I don't even think you have a ladder. I think you have suction cups that you just kind of move up the building.
But I'm never going to reach the end of that ladder.
There is never an end, right?
Yeah.
Especially now, because as we're running HomeLabs, by the time we set it up and get it all running, it's a couple of years, right? And then, the refresh cycle on hardware is every 2 years. So just about when you think you got everything, there's another 2 floors that have been built on the building, right? Because that's the nature of Moore's law, right? Give or take.
Yeah. Right? And especially I'm running 3 different data centers here at my house, 2 at the basement, 1 in the garage. So the witness location, the garage. It is extremely time consuming. It is costly. Let's call it a hobby, but it is definitely worth it. Without my HomeLab environment, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be in my position. Right. I wouldn't have that kind of knowledge, because I always need to be one step ahead of a customer.
Right.
Always.
So are you running your own consulting practice then? Is that what you are? Are you a independent contractor, independent consultant or do you work for a company?
I'm not independent. I work for Computer Center in Germany.
Okay, so Computer Center, right? All right, yeah. Nice. All right, yeah. Do a shout out to them. It's kind of like Com Division guys, right? They're like doing that in the Netherlands, same kind of thing, right? They have their practices that they do. They're spending their time on license management now, right? That's what they're constantly trying to get the enterprise people to figure out how to deal with the license issues, right? Where I think you're the next step up, which is here's the new tech coming. Here's how you can build your and optimize that, right? And
and especially when you try to get list prices for new servers. One example, for a real customer environment, we sized a new Dell system for their vSAN environment. The list price with 2 terabytes of memory in Europe is going to be 130,000 euros. Which is nearly 150,000.
Yeah. Right.
Kind of crazy. The amount of memory, 2 terabytes, was 48,000 euros for this 2 terabyte option. And come on, 2 terabyte isn't really, really fancy for an ASXi server.
No,
it is mainstream right now. And the customer decision is their existing vSAN environment, OSA environment, has 1.6 terabyte NVMe caching devices, which is based on R740s. Those caching devices will be getting out of the R740s, placed into the new Dell systems, and run as a vSphere memory tiering device. And for example, the amount of price drop is insane, from 130,000 euros to 100,000 euros. 30,000 euros less per server. So that is absolutely insane. And it is the next killer feature. To be honest, most of my customers told me when they have seen vSphere 8 in the past, they're missing the killer feature. They all got migrated over from 6.7 to 7, from 7 to 8.
Right.
When you guys announced vSphere memory tiering as a tech preview in vSphere 8, and like people like me playing with it and showing it to customers, and with VCF 9, with this feature becomes officially GA. This is the killer feature, and every customer wants to jump to the newer version because you could save so much money on a software tiering feature and vSphere memory tiering. The future is going to be hardware based. So there's internally a project called Project Peaberry, which is going to consume hardware NVMe offloading. So not the software part, then the hardware part. It is a bright future for this kind of technology, and no other vendor has it. That is the things that convinces customers. Technology.
Yeah, like I'll flip back a little bit and talk history, right? So when we had Paul Moritz running VMware, and maybe this is before your time, but like he came in and he was talking about apps and we weren't even allowed to say virtualization anymore. Marketing was prohibited from saying virtualization in any print media or anything we were doing. We were blocked. We get in trouble if we use the word virtualization, because Paul Moritz sent out an edict saying, no, it has to be cloud. Everything is cloud. Everything's running in the cloud. And he saw the direction of the cloud. When we let him go and Pat Gelsinger came in, it turned on a dime. We're SDDC, software defined data center, virtualization. It was all the data center, right? Pat Gelsinger was like, what are you talking about? We can't talk about virtualization. That's the stupidest thing ever. Of course you can. And we flipped on a dime. Me and Cora were like, oh, thank God we can talk about virtualization again. We didn't even have any cloud products. I felt like in the last 2 years, all we did was talk cloud again, right? Mm-hmm. And the features we highlighted were multi-cloud and cloud integrations and cloud. And I feel like Broadcom Hawk 10 is like a Pat Gelsinger moment, right? Like where we were just off talking cloud stuff again. And then all of a sudden, Pat came in and said, no, you talk about the data center. And I feel Hawk's come in and said, no, we're building technology. I'm not doing cloud anything. We're bringing it all back in the data center. We're going to focus on the data center. And oh, by the way, what are the best features you got out there? And let's get them done ASAP, right? And there you go, right? Tiered memory. Out vSphere 9 here, and then let's highlight it, and then let's look at AI on-prem, right? Yeah, okay. What solutions do we have for AI? Oh, what other services do we need in the data center, right? If we want to compete against Amazon, what kind of programming services do we need in the data center? Okay, let's invest in some of that. Right now, I don't know if I buy into that narrative or not, but it's all data center, right? It's all the things they're looking at is like, we're gonna give you everything you need in the data center. So that's super cool. I like, memory
getting
tiering.
back on prem, data out of the cloud. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then, get the features out. It's technology. And then what are we doing for the next? They're already engineering, right? Like this is 9 is coming out. They were working on whatever the next version is, 9.5 or 10 or whatever. Like they're going to keep pushing the envelope, and the parking lots are full, right? So excited about that. And that's what I was telling Brad Tompkins from VMUG. He's like, what do you think about next year? And I'm like, man, I think we're going to boom. I think that we've already turned the corner, and this is now just, giving people what they want. Right. And so excited about that.
And especially if you're getting back on-prem, you need simple technology, simple on the UI, but extremely complex in the back end. And especially VCF, simple in the UI, everyone could administer it and could consume it. But the installation part,
that's what I was telling. I was telling Brad when we were talking about HomeLabs, right? And he's like, well, we used to have all the licenses. What's such a big deal, Eric? I mean, we had all the licenses for everything. Yeah, but you know what? I never used it because of the installation process, right? Like it was just, I don't have time to deal with all that, right? Like, and so if you make it easy for me, then yeah, sure. Give me a button, install it all, put it all in one pane of glass, and then, it's there. Like, just like I use vSphere today, it gives me virtual storage and virtual networking, and I don't really have to care. I just want to make sure it's there. And if you want me to use NSX and vSAN, put it all in there, make it easy to install, and then nibble me forward, right? And that's what they're doing, right? So I said, that's going to be a big deal.
And from my perspective, for example, everyone could drive a car with an automatic transmission.
That's right.
Who could repair an automatic transmission if it has a malfunction? And that's my job. I need to understand the transmission itself with all the internals to get it up and running for you as a customer to drive the car.
Right. And the only thing, Corey, that I'm struggling with here in the vExpert world is like now there isn't as much to blog about, right? There, like we're making it easier, we're bundling it all together, but that means that okay, there's like what are people going to blog about? vSphere 9, it's integrated. So now there's a lot of, like you say, repair stuff that we can do, but it does focus what people are going to get to talk about, right? Like because we don't have 800 SKUs anymore, we got 4. Right. So a little bit more interesting to figure out what that is. Now we've just gone through everything, right? Everybody should be able to blog about memory tiering for the next year and a half, right? And I'm sure there'll be, memory tiering 2.0 and ways to cheat the system and ways to even, oversubscribe, triple oversubscribe and things like that.
It is an insane technology, and especially in May at Dell Technology World in Las Vegas, we've seen pre-announcements, or let's say special NDA sessions with those Project P Berry boards in combination with VMware by Broadcom, and the next version that comes after 9, VCF 9, and all these alpha versions. Exciting times, exciting moments, and especially back focusing on technology. This is what I really love.
Yeah, that's neat. What me and you are going to have to talk after this. Maybe I'll set up a meeting on your calendar to see like on NVIDIA licensing for AI home, right? We do have the ability to, set up, we did this. We successfully, conquered the mountain, right? And we'll announce it. I would like to go figure out some touch points at NVIDIA because I'm in the Bay Area, right? I can go down there and have some meetings with them and go like, hey, we want to do this for our vExperts or however we roll out. I'm not allowed to talk about how we're rolling this out yet, but it would be fun to have a similar thing like we're going to do with VCF with the GPU drivers or whatever we need there, right? So that we could solve this 1-year license so that if you want to do AI at home, you can without trying to have your buddy at NVIDIA hook you up with something that lasts more than 60 days, right?
The starting point for private AI, especially from a HomeLab hardware perspective, is much higher because you need 4 dedicated physical hosts with GPUs in it. But it is possible, and you could find cheaper GPUs on eBay. Maybe you can get special discounts with your customers. Why not? I'm gonna write a blog post about that, about the private AI and all this, which is necessary to set up from a hardware perspective, from a software perspective, and then from a time-consuming perspective to set up such an environment.
Right. I think that we should slay that dragon, and you write your article, and I'll touch base with you, and we'll figure out where the gaps are when it comes to licensing, and we'll go work with some people in the Bay Area here and see if we can solve that, so that becomes an easy button as well. Because I think that's going to be a piece. I think AI is going to be the most. I think the AI, even though I like memory tier and I like hardware, right? Like that's why I'm here, right? Like I like hardware and I like OSs, and people said I wish I had 10 cents for every fucking OS I'd installed, and I'm like I think I've been paid more than 10 cents for every OS I've installed, but I've installed a lifetime of OSs, right? From SCO Unix back in the old days to continue going. Ubuntu is now they're playing with Ubuntu this morning, right? Like same stuff, installing SSL certs and doing all the stuff you do for your home labs and stuff like that, right? Anyway, I'm looking forward to maybe AI, on-prem AI in general. AI is fascinating, right? And if we look at the service industry, and they're doing service as software, right? So that's a new term, and it's a buzz term, which is service is actually instead of software as a service, it's service as software, right? Smart agents are going to replace service humans, right? And if you look at the total addressable market of that, it's like $30 trillion, right? Of, making AI solve service problems, right? That exists, that's today human oriented. And if we look at that, that's going to be a huge on-prem marketplace for running
Yes.
workloads, right? And
Yeah.
we're just AI right now is kind of like a sliver of when you start actually doing service level delivery of AI agents, right? That's going to be massive, right? And looking forward to that growth as well. So in the next 5 years, you being able to understand that technology to support people that are trying to run those workloads is going to be interesting, right? So
Yeah, and
good
especially right now, I'm educating customers about public AI versus private
AI, right?
or
This is all private.
ChatGPT
Yep,
versus
yep,
doing it
yep.
in your data center with
Right.
your private
With
data.
your product and your data, and and you this stuff is, you don't want to get this, you don't want this data out in the public, because if your competitors get a hold of it, they can put you out of business, right? So there is absolutely an on-prem requirement, because this is, AI is so powerful, and the data that generates that AI, if that gets to your competitors, they can pretty much ask the AI, hey, how would I put Mark out of business? And it'll figure out the weaknesses and tell you, this is what you got to do, right? Here's where he's weak. So that data needs to be, locked down, and you're not going to give it to Azure and let them muck around with it, right? So all on-prem, which is, if you take the on-prem AI movement, and then the fact that on-prem is cheaper than cloud anyway, and then take, memory over subscribing or memory tiering, and you look at that, it's like, yeah, data center's back. It's here to stay. It's, people are going to run that. And, if you're a small mom and pop shop, yeah, if you're a small mom and pop shop and you just need a couple of VMs, sure, go to Azure, spin them up, and obviously, right, because you don't have any time to admin your own boxes anyway, right? But then as you get big enough where you're talking, 50, 100, 200 VMs to run your business in a commercial space, it starts getting expensive. Yeah.
Yes,
so
it is
back on prem.
Oh.
I always ask guests, as we've been going for 56 minutes, Mark, we've talked about what excites you, obviously. What keeps you up at night?
Actually, right now, the next VCF deployment, which is totally true. So I'm doing it right now when we finish here. So the next stretch cluster deployment, then switch installations, getting 2.5 gigabit to the Wi-Fi access points, getting the house completely new, racked and stacked, and then doing preparation for our customer-based roadshow. We're doing it twice a year. It is called the VMware Tech Update from Computer Center. So we're reaching out 800 people per year. We're doing it since the beginning of the VM worlds. And for example, Explore Barcelona will be my number 38.
Oh, wow.
So
All right,
Explore 38. And VMworld together, number 38. And our customer roadshow, which is going to start next Monday around Germany, will be the VMware Tech Update number 38. Next year is going to be 39. So the same for my Explore US. And then there will be my personal jubilee, which is 20 years doing the stuff every 6 months. And I'm still loving it. So that keeps me, awake at night.
The airline pilots, when you hit a certain age, they just you can't fly anymore. And we're thinking 40 VMworlds, that's it. You're done. You don't get to go anymore.
No. I received
sorry.
Time-free pass. Right. I received it in the past from Pat Gelsinger. Raghu refreshed it, and even Hoktan continues it as long as I attend. So.
Yeah, I bought a lifetime membership to 24-hour fitness in the Bay Area. They got 24-hour fitnesses. They're open 24 hours a day. You can work out. And back in 1996, I walked in, and some salesman, I went, I think I want to go to the gym. This is great. 24 hours is great for me. I come in at midnight, work out, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, we got a 24-hour fitness for like $650, lifetime membership. And I'm like, this is back when the internet was just starting to boom and everybody was wealthy. And I went, sure, $650. sounds great. Put it on my credit card. You know, like it was great. You know, like, and we didn't even put it on. And it's now 2025. That's like almost 30 years ago. And it's still free, right? I just walk in and get to go. So you got that free Explorer. They're going to be sorry they gave that to you, right? Like, what, you know, you're going to be like, this is my 500, you know, like we calculate how much money we lost on you 2,000 times, you know, another 40 events. What is that? 2,000 times 40. What's the math on that one? Like, I'm going to have to talk to Hawk again. $2,000 times 40 more years. You got easy for that's $80,000 more dollars you're going to get out of us, right? Going to these things for free.
But the first, I think 25 or 28.
You actually paid for, yeah.
We paid, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's good. Besides, we'll just get you to, we're going to charge you. We're going to figure out some other thing. Oh, you want food with that? Yeah. There's a wear clothing fee. You have to pay money to actually wear clothes at the pass, right? We'll figure out. Broadcom is good at that. We'll figure out how to upcharge you.
Yeah, get a food license.
Well, Marc, as always, great to have you on the show. But really, this is an exciting time because VCF is going to be available for HomeLab. We're going to get that announced, and you're doing the road show, and you're sharing this, and the memory tiering, and the session where you're talking about this stuff at Explore. So we're just on all cylinders now, Corey. So and the experts,
absolutely.
You know, we're going to get people to write articles on memory tiering, and you can get it in Tech Preview now in 8.5. You said something like that. So that's
in 8.0 U3. So
you can do it right now. Okay. All right. Right now you can go play with that, get that set up on your Nook and Nook from Acer. So you can go get that, go look at William Lamb's, and that's it. We're at the top of the hour. Marc, thanks a lot for being here as always. Can't wait to see you at Explore. Yep.
Thanks, Marc.
Corey, thanks for
you guys.
Absolutely. Thanks, Eric.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.